Most of us know the story of St. Maximilian Kolbe, at least of his death, his heroic death in the death camp of Auschwitz in 1941, when he volunteered to die in the starvation bunker for another man that was chosen to die, a man with a family, Francis Gajnicek. St. Maximilian argued to the commandant that was condemning 10 men to death in reprisal for an escape. St. Maximilian told the commandant that he was an old man and a Catholic priest, and so the commandant of the death camp accepted his offer, when ordinarily someone who had been cheeky enough to stand up to the commandant would have been shot along with the man that had been condemned to death. But St. Maximilian offered his life and then spent 2 weeks in a death bunker with another dozen or so starving men, and he was the last one to die. He sustained the what would ordinarily be a bunker of despair. He turned it into a place of prayer as these men died, and he pastorally ministered to the other prisoners. He was beatified by Paul VI, and then the canonization process continued, and John Paul II became Pope. John Paul was a contemporary of St. Maximilian. They were both working to relieve people in the best Christian sense of mercy during the Second World War. And John Paul II, as a fellow countryman in Poland, also had a great devotion to the Blessed Mother. And when it came time to canonize St. Maximilian Kolbe, the German and Polish bishops got together and they sent a petition to the Holy Father, because St. Maximilian had been beatified a confessor, and that doesn't mean necessarily a priest. It means that he wasn't a martyr. He was someone who had lived a holy life. And so when a person is canonized a confessor, the Church not only has the miracles, but there's an investigation into the holiness of their life. There's a declaration that there's an investigation and then a declaration that they practiced all the virtues in a heroic degree. That's when they're declared venerable. But it means at that point that if they're going to be canonized, beatified, and then canonized, they'll be canonized for the holiness of their life. They'll be canonized as a confessor. Well, the Polish and German bishops, after St. Maximilian had been beatified a confessor, petitioned the Holy Father to canonize St. Maximilian as a martyr. And since he did not die for the faith, it would have been argued that this couldn't be done, because all those who had previously been canonized martyrs had been murdered for their profession of faith. But the German and Polish bishops argued on the basis of this passage we read today, there's no greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends, if I do it, I command you. They argued that St. Maximilian's offering himself in place of another man who had been condemned to die, and doing so as a follower of Christ, and in this case in particular as a priest, that this was indeed an act of martyrdom. And the bishops didn't get a reply from the Holy Father. They got an acknowledgement that he had received their petition and that he was thinking about it. And so on the day of the canonization of St. Maximilian, nobody really knew what the Pope was going to do until the procession came out and the Pope and the concelebrants were wearing red vestments. And then St. John Paul II canonized St. Maximilian a martyr. So I don't know if it's unprecedented entirely, but it's extraordinarily unusual, at least, that someone who is beatified, a confessor for their life, the holiness of their life, was then canonized a martyr for the holiness of their death. St. Maximilian, when he was a child, when he had gotten in trouble with his mother, and his mother was a bit frustrated with him, he went before the statue of the Blessed Mother in the parish church, and he prayed there, and he asked her, to help him. And she appeared to him, according to his mother's account of what St. Maximilian told her, and she presented to him 2 crowns, one white and one red, and he said, "I'll take both." He understood it to mean holiness of life, purity, and martyrdom. And that was the offer of Our Lady to St. Maximilian, and he said, "I'll take both." He didn't know what he was going to do with his life at that point, but later he understood that the Blessed Mother wanted him to work for God's kingdom and to promote love of her as a way, the easiest and the safest way to Jesus, which is precisely what he did, both in his ministry, his religious life, and also in his holy death. So St. Maximilian is a modern, contemporary sort of example of the importance of having devotion to the Blessed Mother, and of realizing that in the most difficult times, the times in which we're challenged to practice charity, in a time when there is so much injustice, so much uncertainty, so much religious indifferentism, that Our Lady wants us to meet these challenges and to do so with joy and confidence, knowing that the Lord is with us. St. Maximilian used to say in the death camp, when people thought he was ready to just to die, basically, that he was being sustained by Our Lady. Our Lady was helping him, and she helps us as well. So as we continue to celebrate these sacred mysteries, let us then have confidence in the Lord. He's always present with us, and if he asks us to love one another as he has loved us, we know that it's because he's given himself to us, and he is present in our hearts.